Hello everyone and welcome back to Go Again. I am Andrew and this week I actually hit my breaking point with FAB. So what I want to talk about in today's episode is changes I'd like to see. That was actually the original title. Instead, what we're going with is changes FAB needs now. Alright guys, so let me explain my opening statement. So someone had contacted me through the YouTube channel and had explained something that they caught that was incorrect on the Learn to Play video or the FAB for Dummies video that I made, and this person was 100% correct. It's actually there in the rules and it actually makes a ton of sense from a gameplay standpoint. But it kind of highlights one of the larger problems that I have what's going on with FAB right now, in that when you look at FAB, you're like, wow, this is super great game. You can buy a starter deck. It's playable out of the box. Not only is it actually playable, like legal playable out of the box, like it's fun to play out of the box. The starters playing to each other. It's great. The game's super attractive. You look at it and you're like, wow, there's these heroes. I pit them against each other. I'm going to be able to buy this and it's going to be a good time. And I think that inherently is almost my thesis statement of this is FAB looks, or at least appears, to be this super great and approachable game from a new player standpoint. And I think that's where I was wrong in getting into it to the beginning. FAB, as we've started to learn it more, it's actually gotten harder to play the game the more we learn how to play the game. And you know, a lot of people may say, oh, well, that's great. That's a learning curve standpoint. And I agree with that in principle, but not in actuality. So what I want to kind of talk about are some things that I think FAB can do to try to kind of just change that whole structure, right? The game itself is fine. The game itself is good. The company itself is amazing, right? That's the biggest selling point they have, is that the company's in and engaged. But there's a lot of small things the company could do to really try to make this game more new player friendly. Part of the problem I have inherently is it feels that there are a lot of players coming from other games that have distinct advantages in this game because they're just like, well, of course that's how it works because that's how it works in X. Of course that's how it works because it works in Y. And if you have a background like myself or in other new players who don't have backgrounds in those games, I feel that things are non-intuitive. So anyway, you know, that part out of the way, let's actually start getting into my talking points. So the first one I have is actually something we've talked to before on the cast, and I really feel that the Defend React cards need to be visually different. Again, Defend React cards are the only cards that you can't play as a normal defense. So why in the world do they look the same? So what I'm actually showing right here is just my proposal on how we do it, right? I understand that if they were to release a new expansion tomorrow, that they wouldn't want to fundamentally change the design of their cards because they already have templating out there. I get it, it makes complete sense. So here's my proposal, right? We have standard defense, which is gray. My proposal is that Defense React will just absolutely cover that bubble and just invert the colors. Right? Instead of being black on gray, it'll just be gray on black. You could go white and black, whatever. But my point is I want it to be visually distinctive. Now what I'm showing is just a version of Steelblade Shunt that I mocked up. You'll also see Warrior Defense Reaction I colored in black just to give it kind of a different distinction and make it a little easier just when it's in your hand to tell that it's not okay to play. Furthermore, having the circle I think is very important, because that way if it does hit the table and someone makes a mistake, there's a visual cue there that something is different. So I really like that. You don't have to go with my design, but I think my design is getting across the point I'm trying to make, that there needs to be something visually different. There's going to be a problem that comes out of this, though, I think inherently, in that the attack reacts also maybe then need a different color, even though there's no rule there. So right, like maybe the attack reacts then by same argument would have to have their attack portion colored. You could make that argument as well. I don't think it's necessary. I think the only thing that's necessary is just distinguishing the defense reaction. But I think there's no way around it. It is, even for people who know what they're doing, sometimes you still make the mental mistake. I think this is absolutely needed. So let me know what you think about my design. Again, I'm not saying FAB has to take this design, but I am saying FAB absolutely 100% in their next expansion needs to distinguish defense reacts. There's really, in my mind, no question about it. It needs to happen if they want this to be a more new player-friendly game. Okay, I also have another one up here. I just colored it red. I think probably the red is not a great idea because that may confuse people with the pitch. But again, like all I'm saying here is I want things to distinguish. All right. Next, this is the big one with me. This is the one that's got me all excited this week. Is this game needs a more straightforward and new to gaming friendly player rulebook. It needs to be readable and attractive to new to gaming players. So what I'm showing right now is just an excerpt from the rulebook. The rulebook is it's okay, right? It's not bad, but it's not good. And it needs to be better. If you look at this is like reading a textbook. And in fact, I'm actually going to, for those of you who don't know, I actually have written a textbook. I've written a textbook for Introduction to Engineering. It's actually targeted towards high school students. This is an excerpt right here from my textbook. My textbook, this is an engineering textbook, and it actually looks more attractive than the FAB rulebook, right? It has that bubble there, and that's the main thing I'm going to talk about here, right? Key concept, right? It actually points out a key concept. Instead of expecting someone to read through something that is equivocally a text document and take everything they can out of it, what you should do from a new player standpoint, just a human nature standpoint, is highlight the key points. To that effect, what I'm showing right here is the Star Wars Destiny new player learn to play rules sheet, right? Look how much color is in here. Look how many key boxes are in here to draw the eyes to critical components. This is just a very simple graphical design thing that FAB could probably do in a day and a half of fixing it. This is a 100% necessary thing. I'm not saying change the rule book in terms of how it's written. Again, I completely grant you that everything that the rule book needs is there. Again, I've made the complaint before. It is like reading a textbook. It is not easy to follow if you are not familiar with it. It's not easy for me to follow, and I've been playing games for 20 years. I cannot imagine someone for the first time trying to read this book and actually make heads or tails, let alone try and find all of the small nuances of this game that are actually very in-depth. Again, it's all there. I'm not arguing with that, but it's written towards competitive people and not new player people, and that is not going to help grow the game. All it's going to do is help cannibalize other games and maybe pull from them. It's not going to help grow the gaming community at all. So again, 100%. I do want to give them a shout out, right? What I'm showing right now is their chain link thing. There is certainly an image there. They went out of their way, they put an image there, but it's black and white and it still looks just visually awful. It needs to be better. It needs to be better immediately if they want to grow this game. All right, next thing, as far as game standpoint goes, we all know that the games stall out at the end while one person's pitching to defend while the other person's doing everything they can to attack and then passing and then back and forth, right? We all know that 80% of the game is spent in the last death throes of the game. What I would like to see to try and help kind of either accelerate or level off that curve, whatever you want to call it, I would like to see more frequent and easier card draw. I do imagine that a lot of this will probably come with future expansions of the game, but 4 cards is very limiting. It is, and I realize the game is designed as such that you have to tactically plan. There's a give and take. I get that. I get that 4 is the reason, but we have already seen Dorinthia do very well in casual play. The reason Dorinthia does very well in casual play is because she gets that pretty consistent card draw with her Majestics. Katsu, if you play him correctly, can kind of get that card draw, right, and that he has his ability. But what we're seeing is that the people are attracted to having more options, right? Right now, 4 is not enough, and I'm not asking FAB to change the structure of the game, but what I am asking them to do is give people more options so that they can have a little more fun and not feel like they're out of options the entire time they're playing the game. All right, number 4 is we need to bridge the theory craft to gameplay divide. So let me explain what I mean by that. When I sit down and I look through the card database on fabtcg.com, which is great, it's fantastic that they have that there. When I sit and I go through it, I am just so excited. I've got my pencil, I've got my binder, I'm going down through, I'm making all sorts of deck ideas, trying to optimize my deck. And then I sit down and I play the game and I'm disappointed, right? Every single time I sit down and I play, my deck does either not perform the way I thought it was going to, or I just end up spending as much time saying, well, that's not how I thought it was going to work. There has to be a better way to make the beauty and the sexiness of this game apply not just on paper, right? Right now, we spend so much time in this game trying to figure out all the little nuances, trying to do all the technical stuff, and then once you get everybody down to 5 health, you spend the rest of the game just kind of like going back and forth, and it is just very anticlimactic, And it's just, you walk away not feeling as good as you did when you sat down to start the game, or even when you were deck building. So it works great from a selling product standpoint. I'll 100% give them that. They've got the sexy foils. They've got all the stuff that people want to go chase. People sit down, they theory craft, they want to build their decks, and it's great. But when you actually get it on the table, it is nowhere near as fun as the before sitting on the table part. And that's not going to last. They need to somehow figure out to fix that. I don't have any huge proposals on how to do that, but something has to change. Something has to be better if they're going to keep attracting people. All right. Lastly, and this one's a petty one that, of course, will come with more stuff, right? But variety and options, right? We need more options, and I don't just mean heroes, right? But it would be nice to be able to have multiple weapons, right? It'd be nice to be able to have just more options on what to do. Right now, the game's been out for enough time that people are going to start getting bored with stuff, and we need to have some options for people to start to change things, because that's what people are going on. Gamers are fickle. Gamers will go to the new sexy whenever they can, right? FAB is in a good spot right now from an attracting standpoint and from a building standpoint. And right now, like today, is the time to build on having more options, not something later. So to that end, actually, I play another game, Argent Saga. They're doing very well right now in terms of continuing to pump product in the market. It is time for more product. And that can come in two ways. One, you could just announce a new product right now, right? We've already seen some hints for the new expansion and when it's coming, and that's fantastic, but we haven't seen any spoilers. I haven't really seen any stuff out there. I haven't seen any promised dates. It is time to tell people what's coming. And furthermore, I understand that dropping a whole new set of champions can completely save the game or completely change the game. In fact, as far as the starter decks go, like maybe you even only want to do that on a year cadence or a half year cadence or whatever you want to do, and that's completely fine. So I'm actually proposing you move to like mini expansions, right? Drop a mini expansion with 25 cards for the price of a starter deck or something like that that's got a new weapon in there, maybe a new fixed special card, and you can even do the thing where you put one of each, one of some card in the starter, so people have to buy 3 starters and you hook them that way. Whatever helps you get your income to develop your product. But let's get some more stuff, some more product, some more fun into the market ASAP, and at the very least, let's spoil some stuff soon. So those, again, this is short. This is what I need, or not what I need, but what I think FAB needs now. I would really like to see this game succeed, and I think FAB is getting to a critical point now where maybe I'm ahead of the curve, maybe I'm a little annoyed or whatever you want to say with the game right now, a little ahead of people, but we're going to the holiday season. Some other new products are going to start to drop at the beginning of the year. And if FAB wants to stay competitive, it's time to really poop or get off the pot. So that's what I'd like to see. If you've been watching, thank you very much. Please let me know what you think or what you would like to see from FAB as well. And I'm not asking for dream cards. That's not where I'm going here. I'm not asking for new champions. We all know that's coming at some point. What I'm really asking for here is a fundamental change in how the game approaches trying to build the community with new players, because the plan of trying to just cannibalize and take people from other games because they're bored from them, do you know what's going to happen? Is they're going to get bored with your game and go back to their other games or onto something else. It's not a sustainable model. We need to attract new players that are going to want to stick with the game, that are going to love the game, and that is how we're going to successfully build a sustainable community. So that is what FAB needs to focus on, and they're going to do that by getting a new rule book, promising new product coming out, and keeping people entertained. So anyway, that's my piece. Thank you for watching. Go Commando.